G'day all, it's Colin from PC TLC and thanks for joining me. This is the part 2 series of the install and getting started FerenOS. So this is going to be a look around the desktop, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with looking at some of the layouts on FerenOS. They weren't working correctly in the VirtualBox, and I wasn't really there to sort of showcase that in any way, to be honest. It was part of the options of getting started or the welcome screen or whatever it was. So what we're going to do here is have a look at the layouts. Now this is the default layout that comes with FerenOS. You got your calendar up top, your notifications. And you know, everything else is pretty much self-explanatory down here. And you've got your software store there that we'll visit later. So let's go to System Settings and go to Theme. Now we have many layouts here, so we're going to go through them all, have a quick look. First of all, I'm going to choose Breeze. Let's apply that. Let's drop that down, and as you'll see, I've got the magic lamp in play here and also wobbly windows for my viewing pleasure. So that's the Breeze theme. It's nothing, probably if you're into Plasma, that's nothing unusual for, it's pretty much a standard theme that comes with the Ubuntu or any other KDE desktop pretty much, unless it's been customized by the developer. So that's the Breeze, and we'll go back and check Breeze Dark. These are just formalities really, but most people who's tried KDE will be familiar with these particular themes and layouts in place. So as you can see, all the colors change according to the theme of the Breeze Light and the Breeze Dark. So that's been set up quite nicely. So let's just check out the next one, which is Cupertino Layout. Now I'm interested in this one because I thought that layout wasn't correct in my first video, but let's have a look and see what it comes up with. So as I suspected, this one here is just a lock screen, current user, new session, system settings, system monitor, leave, suspend. So that's all that was supposed to be, plus your system tray up top here. And your launcher is here, and it's a full screen launcher. So it's part of the dock down the bottom here. So he's integrated the launcher and the trash bin there as part of the dock. Your buttons are on the left, and you can minimize and maximize there. So we've got system settings open, minimize and maximize. So that is the Cupertino layout. So let's go to the next one, to familiar. And as you can see here, Nemo's main menu is now hidden. You have chosen to hide the main menu. So that's giving you a message, because what that means is we've chosen a different layout. So if you want to see the Nemo's menu, in this space here, just click your right mouse button and your menu will show up. Click the right mouse button again and it will hide. So it must be showing you that message because it's a different layout, and maybe the other layout had the menu there already, because that's the way that layout works. So you can restore it permanently by selecting this option again from the view menu. So tap in the Alt key, right click in an empty region of the main toolbar, right click in an empty region of the status bar. So you can also click the Alt key. I didn't know that, so let's check that out. Alt. Oh, there we go. I didn't know that. So just learned something new. So in the, which layout were we on? We were on the familiar layout. You've got the tiled menu. Now the tiled menu comes with these ones here. We'll have a look at the menus later. But as you can see, this is very familiar. You've got your icons down the bottom, and you've also got like a what would you call it? Let's just check that. Configure icons and task manager. You've got show tooltips. So you've got a tooltip here. I think that's the tooltip. And highlight windows when hovering over tasks, which is what it also does. It highlights those windows that are open. This one's not shown because it's on my other monitor. So that's why that one's not shown, but the tooltip's still there. So that's what's going on there. So as you can see, you've got your very familiar layout. This is pretty much how Windows 10 works. You've got your system tray down here, the microphone, right click, you can mute it if you want, and your update manager and so forth, calendar here, notifications. Now there is another one with the little arrow for notifications, so that's another option there. I can't remember where that was now, but let's go on to FerenOS. That's his layout. That's Feren's layout. Let's check that out. Now, as you can see, you've got the calendar and the little arrow for the notifications here. And you've got the convenient do not disturb there as well, which I probably should have on because I'm recording, so I will do that. Do not disturb until turned off. Yep, that'll do. And you've got this menu here, which is if you right click, it'll tell you configure simple menu. So that's called simple menu. I think I did mention that in the video, so I did get that one right. Now in the simple menu, you'll see here, and it's not obvious, if you right click one of these icons, it'll say remove from favorites. So the very first screen that pops up in this simple menu is a favorite screen, although you wouldn't know it. And then you can, if you go to the next one, you'll see that they're all in alphabetical order from there on in the next screens. And you got that there. So this one's a favorite. So if you go to here, you can add to favorites, add to desktop, add to panel, pin to task manager. So you can do that. And if you go to the first one, you can remove from favorites and all the other options as well. So you also got jump lists here. You can go to certain, that's one that I had mounted. It's a mounted disk. So it's not mounted at the moment. So I'm not sure why that's showing up there. That's a bit odd. And just, so that's the Feren layout. And as you can see, besides the calendar being up here, most things are very much the same. You got your notifications here. And this one is working very much the same as the familiar layout. So that's how that's working. So let's go to the next one, which is the FerenOS Dark, and apply that. So now you've got a dark theme. Everything else is very much the same, except the icons have changed. I think the icons have changed. Let me go back to that, FerenOS, and apply that. Pretty sure the icon, yeah, because those icons are the light ones. Yep, you've seen that change just there. And the FerenOS Dark has the Dark Inspire icons, as you can see there. And that's the dark mode. And the menus are already showing in this one. Next we have FerenOS Light. And apply that. So that's his light. And transparency when moving windows. I think you got transparent, slight transparency, I think, in the menu itself as well. Let's have another look at that. If we stick that behind there. Well, I thought there was transparency, maybe not. And it definitely is when moving the windows. We got the Redmond layout. Now the Redmond layout has the Windows buttons here and the launchers here, which is pretty much, I think, a Windows 7 style, not a Windows 10. The Windows 10 works with the icons only, I believe. Maybe Windows buttons, I'm not sure, but you still got the Windows showing there, and also this one here. So the tooltips and the highlighted windows you still have. So that's still working for you there. And then you got your launchers here. And the calendar is down here on the Redmond layouts. And here we have the Redmond menu, which is pretty much like a Windows 7 menu, I think you would call it. Got your shortcuts, the shutdown, logout, switch user, and some shortcuts on the side here as well. Probably some options to configure the menu. I think they all have it, just depends how much options they have in all the menus. Some of them have plenty, some of them don't have many at all. Got recent applications, recent documents, and your category listings down here, which is very familiar of a Windows 7 layout and also very familiar to Windows 10. Then we have tablet mode. I don't know if tablet mode works best. Tablet mode works best with use desktop layout on. Okay, so we can try tablet mode. I don't know if it'll work on here. Yes, it does. So you've got, you've got the onboard. So tablet mode, if you're using like a stylus or your finger, you've got the onboard keyboard, which is showing up on my second screen. Don't know why it's doing that. Don't know if I can move it over. No, I cannot. That's all right. And you've got here minimize windows, notifications, your system tray stuff there, and your icons here, which is working, which is probably makes sense that it works that way anyway, with just the icons, no window buttons. And we have the tablet mode menu, which is the standard simple menu that comes by default when you first start up. That is your tablet mode. And we have the Unity layout. And I have to say, this thing is just working really well. You can open and close by clicking on the icon in the sidebar there. And this hasn't faltered. This is actually the first time I've pretty much changed all the menus around since I actually installed, believe it or not. Because I have played around with FerenOS quite a lot in the past. All I've been doing is setting up my system and getting it up and running to a point where it's my daily driver and I want to see how it works for me. So that's what I've been doing since I did the install video. So we've got all these icons here. We've got Kate, we've got photos, we've got KSysGuard, Geary Mail. So let's have a look at that. KSysGuard. So I'm recording. That's fairly low. And one of them's up at around about 80%. So they do swap cores, I believe. I think the cores sort of share the workload by the looks of it. And I'm using 1.5 gig. I'm recording and I've got 32 gigs there. So plenty there. So let's close that. And we have the full screen menu, as you can see there. And you can go through everything there. Recent applications, shut down, log out, switch user. And you can go through your categories here to see what's there. I'll go through that shortly. Well, this is the last layout anyway. So if you just click anywhere in spare space, that menu will close. You've got your system sys tray there, your calendar there, user menu, leave and current user, new session, lock screen and so forth. Running applications, of course, which you've seen that microphone every time. Bluetooth is running. I've got my headphones connected. So if we click on that, that's connected. I can disconnect. And I'm happy to say that I think this version of Plasma actually detects my headphone probably better than what Gnome was doing. And I was on the most updated versions of Gnome on Debian SID. And it just seemed to be a bit of a mess around sometimes in Gnome. That's the only criticism I had of Gnome. But this one, it always seems to be there. And if I just want to connect, I just go connect. If I've turned off my headphone, it'll see it there once it's turned on. I can just connect. And at times it just automatically connects anyway, which is really good. So we've got, what have we got here? We haven't got global menus, which I thought we would have had, although maybe this menu needs to be turned off if I hit the Alt key, no. So I thought we would have had global menus in this Unity desktop. Maybe I need to close that for that to work. No? Okay. So let's open something else, Kate. So we have global menu for Kate, but not for Nemo. That's interesting. Full screen? No. So that's interesting. I haven't noticed that because I haven't been using Unity on here. So we haven't got the global menu integrated yet. So that may be something Feren's still working on. They're just little nitpicks really at the end of the day. It does add to the continuity of the desktop if it is working, obviously, but it's to the point where it's stable and usable, not a problem. It's not going to crash on you or anything like that. So that is the layouts on FerenOS. Now we'll have a look at the menus. Now we'll go back to my favorite layout, which is the familiar layout. I quite like that one. So let's do that. And unlike in VirtualBox, this thing just is smooth as butter, changes without any issues whatsoever. It's great. Use desktop layout from themes. So if you uncheck that, if you use the Ubuntu Unity layout, but you uncheck that, apply, I think what it'll do is it'll use the theme from that, which is probably similar anyway. Let's go to FerenOS. Let's go to FerenOS Lite and uncheck that and apply. Now you can see that the theme has changed to the FerenOS theme. So if you want this particular layout, but you want that theme, then just uncheck that box. So that's how that works. If you wanted the breeze dark and you uncheck that and apply, then you have the breeze dark, but you have the familiar layout. So that's how that works. Put it back on familiar layout and apply that. So the next thing I want to do is on this tiled menu, the one thing you need to know is I have made my own menu here and adjusted everything. Now, when you change layouts, you need to know that that all goes back to default. So if you come back to this menu, it's going to be the default menu and it won't be the changes that you made. But what you can do, and what I've done, well, actually, let's first of all go to here, my documents. Inside of Linux, I've got a FerenOS tiled menu backup. So this is how this works. We right click, we configure tiled menu, import export. I'll right click that and select all, copy that, right click this, select all and paste. And click OK, and now I should have whatever I did should be there. So as you can see, they're all big buttons and there's quite a lot of applications in there. And the other thing is, if you want to make more space here, you can move this down and you can add more space to add more applications. So all you can do is the heading, the title, you can just move around. Now, this one here is called Daily Life. You can edit the tile and you can make that. And what I'll call it is My Favorites. And close that. And you can see now that title is My Favorites. Tools and Miscellaneous is under here. Now, I haven't checked that with the other menus. I don't know if they have. Some menus have those options, some menus do not. But that's just what you need to do. If you're using that tiled menu, you need to realize that you have to import and export that to be able to get it back to what it was with your own specific changes. So that's what you can do there. The other thing you can do is, while you're in this layout, you can do whatever layout you're in. You can show the alternatives. And you can use whichever menu you please, and you can change it on this layout and just change the menu to what you want. Application dashboard, which is the full screen one. I'm pretty sure tiled menu, simple menu. There are other menus if you want them. So if you wanted another menu, you could add widgets. You could get new widgets. If you've got it on local file, you can install it that way and download new Plasma widgets. Just wait for that to load. That's loaded. And you can go here, because they are widgets, so you just search for menu. And then it'll come up with other menu alternatives. Simple menu is installed already, although it's saying you can install it. That's a strange one. Tiled menu saying you can install that. So I don't know whether it's picking up that it's installed or not. You got this menu here. Tiled menu is already installed, a ditto menu. So you can go through here and look for other menus if you wish. Window app menu applet. So there's, you know, plenty of other. Now there's another one that I was thinking about installing. I couldn't remember the name of it. I've just come across that by accident now. Is the Win7 Volume Mixer, which gives you the Windows 7 look, which is probably a better one than this one, I think. I don't like the way they go down because it's just a bit annoying for me anyway. That's just my personal look on things. I don't like it when you scroll and things move. You're best to scroll with the scroll bar, otherwise when you're scrolling with the mouse, it changes these volumes up and down, which is a bit annoying. So that's how you can add other menus. I think he's got a good range of menus there anyway, so that's not a problem. No, not configure tiled menu. I'll show alternatives. So there is a good range there. Let's go to settings and themes. Now in the themes, you've got your global themes, which is the layouts, which is what we were doing. You got the Plasma style. I've tried changing this. I've tried adding other styles, but really it doesn't seem to add them. I can't remember whether I did that or not. But you got the Feren stuff here. Now in here you've got the alternative notifications, which is on the notifications. Let's just change that for a minute. Let's turn that off. Now you've got this picture here, and you've got the FerenOS here. If we select that and apply, then you get this arrow notification. So if you like that one, you choose the FerenOS. If you like this one, you choose the alternate notifications, and it gives you that picture there. Windows decorations. Now, sorry, just on the Plasma style, you can change that like I did in here by unchecking this box, and that changes your Plasma style. Now, whether you install other styles or not, I have installed other window decorations, but normally when you install window decorations, you would expect that to also show up in the styles, which they are not. So I don't know if that's normal behavior or you've got to look for particular Plasma styles under here. I'm not really sure about that, but I think it may be specific to what Feren's added, and you can work with these by changing these and unchecking that box. Now window decorations is a different story. I've added the Quagga, and this is the Quagga here and the Quagga dark. So the Quagga normal, and apply that, is this one here, and that's a dark, and this one's also a Quagga dark, and that pretty much looks the same. So that's the window decoration that I like to use. Your application style's being used by Deviant. Now you probably can change things here. I don't know too much about this at the moment. I've played around with it before, but it does, you're really jumping into the rabbit hole here when you start playing around with this. So probably discard changes. I think you're probably best to install FerenOS on a virtual machine, play around with that till you get to know it. That would be the best thing to do until you get to know that. You can work with the themes if we look up Deviant here, Deviant Manager, and you can change your themes within here. I've done that before, but I won't show that now. And then you've got your icons. I've installed a few icons, Papyrus, Deepin for all, Dharmadamas, and all that. But I've just at the moment going with the Inspire, UOS, which was I think another Deepin one, I think. Tried a few different icons. At the moment I'm just using the defaults, and if you want to get new icons, just click here, get new icons, and you can scroll through. You can select the newest, and it'll come up with the newest. So you don't have to go online downloading zip files and putting them into user themes or user icons and all that sort of thing. You just install from here and they're installed. And you can, if you've got a favorite icon, you can search from here if you know the name of it. So you can do that. The other thing is colors. You can change the colors to suit these here. So obviously whatever's showing, that'll be your title bar, that'll be the inside of the window, these colors, and your boxes, your highlighting boxes here. And you've got all different ranges there. You can do that. There's all different types. Maybe I can show an example of one. Let's just go something a little bit crazy here and try that. So there you go. So it just changes pretty much the inside of the box. It doesn't affect the window decorations at all. And probably to change that back, you would probably need to go back to your global theme and choose familiar layout and uncheck that box. Oh yeah, that's gone back to there. So window decorations, Quagga, and apply. So that's that. So next under settings, we have desktop effects. And what I've done is I've done magic lamp, and that just works when you minimize and maximize. I want wobbly windows. I've left that default. And the other thing I've done is desktop cube, desktop cube. If we just go into the settings here, the desktop cube, I can't remember whether that was default or I made it that. So it's the meta key, which is the Windows key, or well known as in Linux as the super key plus C. So the super key plus C, just click those once and you can change that with your mouse. Desktop 4, desktop 1, let go of the mouse and it goes back to normal. I've also added the flip switch, which is your Alt tab, that one there. Now I have to remember how I did the flip switch, because there was something, I think that was in window management maybe. In window management task switcher, and I turned on the flip switch and then I had to select flip switch here. So you've got a lot of options here as well for your Alt tab. I'm using the flip switch. Now keyboard shortcuts is here under settings as well. Shortcuts. Under you got your global shortcuts, and then you've got your KWin. And what I've done here is I have set the meta and the space key to present windows. So the super key or the Windows key and the space bar, Windows key, space bar, and there we go, present windows. So I've changed it to that because I'm trying to sort of work this a little bit like I do with the GNOME desktop, where you just hit the Windows key and that happens. Best option I have is the super key, and the space bar is the closest to almost hitting one key. It's a pretty good option, and you can see the time. If you're watching YouTube, it'll still show up here while you're checking out other things, and you can also use other workspaces if you wanted to. And you've got all other options here if you wanted to change some of those to suit yourself. Now the other thing is Control Alt, where is it? Control Alt and up. Control Alt up is the desktop grid. So that shows you the grid, and you can move things to different workspaces. That's Control Alt and up. Control Alt left, so Control Alt left and right will change desktops. Left and right arrows. That's your right arrow, that's your left arrow, and it's still in the desktop cube thing. So that's just a few things on the desktop shortcuts there. We've had a look at the window management, but the other thing is you'll find that uncontrollably when you open Windows, it might, if you've got two monitors, it might go to one monitor, it might go to the other monitor. You close it and then it'll go on the other monitor. You close it, it'll open on the other monitor. It's a little bit weird. So what you can do there, under window behavior, so where are we? Window management, window behavior. Click this option here, active screen follows mouse. So wherever your mouse is, that's where the window will open. And normally your mouse will be on the main screen if you're clicking anywhere here. I have tried to move my mouse to the other monitor before it opens, and that actually works. It follows the mouse. as long as you get the mouse over there before it opens. System sounds is another one. We're going to have a look at system sounds because that's really hard to find. Notifications, configure, Plasma Workspace, that's the one, and configure events. And you can turn your sound on or off. And that's for your log out and log in and so forth. So I don't have any login sounds that I know of. My headphones probably aren't working at the point of login, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's off. So Plasma Workspace is the main one that you want to configure events for. So that's in Notifications, under System Services, Plasma Workspace, Configure Events. And you can do that with all of them. I find that really bizarre the way that works. I really do. Because you have under here, audio, but that's just audio. You would think you would have login sounds and everything under audio, which would make more sense. So that one's a really odd one, I must say. So I hope that helps a few people out. Now, underneath here, we've got this battery and brightness. This one here, I'm not on a laptop, I'm on a desktop for this occasion. Although it tells me about my wireless mouse, how much power it's got and so forth. If you want to not show that, right click the system tray. This is your system tray options and what's here. You can right click that and configure system tray. And we go into system tray and we go to entries. Now I'm looking at the battery and brightness. So battery and brightness, it says shown. So it's being shown. I'll make that hidden and apply. And now it's gone. So that's how you can show or remove things in the system tray. So currently Simple Screen Recorder is auto. That makes sense because it only shows up because it knows that I may need some options here. So it's in auto mode. So it's only shown when it's being used. It's not something that's used constantly throughout the whole time the desktop is running. Wallpapers, configure desktop, right click and configure desktop. Now if I change the wallpaper here, like so, that's only changing the wallpaper on this monitor. Now if I close that and right click on the other monitor, that dialog box will come up exactly like this. And then I can change the wallpaper and make it different on the other monitor. That's a nice little feature because I don't remember any other desktop being able to do that. I know Budgie has an applet for that. So that's how that works. Now we'll have a look at the Update Manager. We'll right click that and click on Update Manager. In my install and getting started, I missed the snapshots. Now I don't want to run snapshots. Now, normally when you turn this snapshots on, it'll just take over and start running and you got no other option but to go through with it, I believe. So I don't want to really touch system snapshots. But for those people who want to use system snapshots, just click the edit button and click on system snapshots. You can also edit your software sources, which is here. You can add PPAs if you need to. Graphics drivers, which I don't have any here. This is an Intel. Authenticate keys, maintenance. You can fix things in here if you need to. So Feren's got the Linux Mint Update Manager working here, and I quite like the Linux Mint Update Manager. It's a very good one. And he's also got Nemo from Linux Mint as well. If we check that out, right click that and help and about. Nemo 4.4.2. I'm not really sure what Nemo's up to these days. I'm not sure how up to date that one is. Next we'll have a look at the Browser Manager. He's got a Browser Manager in here. So when you first install FerenOS, if you're after a different browser, then you've got the Browser Manager here. Now I did install Google Chrome. I downloaded it from the internet because I forgot about his Browser Manager. It's just a bad habit. So I just wanted to see how it managed the .deb installation. And it was a little bit, it looks like it's doing nothing. All of a sudden it's installed. So it sort of seems to run more in the background than anything else. So you've got plenty of options there to install all these browsers if one of these are your favorite browser. A lot of people are talking about Brave at the moment. So we'll just run through the system and see what's installed. You've got your most used applications up the top here. Arc, which is an archiving manager. Etcher I installed. Now the other thing is with Etcher, edit, right click and edit applications. And then you get this KDE Menu Editor here. And I just added, I think it's in System, Etcher here. Hooked up the command under the command here. Put my own icon, which I've got one there. Just gave it a description and a name and saved the file. So it's got its own built-in KDE Menu Editor. That's how I got Etcher there. Blender I installed. Cherry Tree I installed. It's got disks by default. Feren Maintenance Tool. Feren Maintenance Tool, it just comes up, put in your password. I'm not really sure what this is supposed to do. Would you like to begin? Just say yes. And it does whatever it's doing in the background there. No packages found matching Feren sources. 0 issues were found. Hopefully fixed. Press enter to exit this program. So I'm not really sure what that's all about, to be honest. I have to ask Feren about that. I installed Firefox through the browser manager. You've got firewall configuration there. Geary Mail. Google Chrome I installed. ICE I installed. Info Center. So you got your info there about your system and the KDE versions and so forth. And FerenOS. Got Kate. So we'll just run through. Library I installed. I'm uploading videos to library at the moment as well. The first part of this video was uploaded to YouTube and library. You got Latte Dock there. Full LibreOffice. Maps. NetBank is my site-specific browser I've installed with the ICE program. VirtualBox I installed. QBitTorrent I installed. Simple Screen Recorder I installed. Spectacle we'll take a look at shortly. And the store. Telegram I installed, I think with a .deb file, I believe this time. Or it could have been from the store, I'll check that out. You got Timeshift, which is the system snapshots. Transfer Tool, which I've made a video about. Vivaldi comes by default, so does VLC. And Zoom I installed. So that's it. So Spectacle, I did have as a shortcut on the taskbar, but because I've been changing around the layouts, it's gone. And this is what I mean by those things. These are easily added back in anyway. Spectacle, so right click and pin to taskbar. Now Spectacle you really want it on the taskbar, and I'll tell you for why. If you right click, you can capture entire desktop, capture the current monitor, which is really handy, capture active window, capture rectangular region, which is you will select the region yourself manually, and you can unpin. So it's got some nice little default options there on the right click. Spectacle, I really like that. So now let's have a look at the software store. Let's have a look at Zoom first up. I'm not sure whether I installed that as a Flatpak or a .deb. I installed the Flatpak. Okay, so that's from FlatHub. So that's already installed. And Telegram, I cannot remember. I may have downloaded that from their site. Yeah, Telegram desktop. So it's not saying Snap or FlatHub or anything like that. So it's definitely, I downloaded the .deb because I think it was more updated from their website. So the Feren store, we'll go back to the Feren store. And you've got categories, you've got Flatpak selections here, which is how I believe Linux Mint do it. So you know that in this menu, everything in here will be a Flatpak. So there's no second guessing. There's no looking at under the menus here and looking for Flatpak or whatever. You know that when you're in this category, you are looking at Flatpaks directly. So you got all the categories here nicely organized. Some editors picks up here, which will be some of the most popular applications going. So that is the Feren store. So one thing you might want to be aware of in FerenOS is the calendar. If you like to use the calendar and you want to add calendars to it from Google or Nextcloud or whatever, so online accounts, currently this is not working in FerenOS. Now these, once I changed icons, these had the correct icons according to the application, but now it's just gone like that since I've made an icon change. But it was correct to start with, but you cannot add anything to it. You can add events, not a problem, but you cannot add at the moment online accounts. I believe Feren is working on that. So it's probably the Nemo integration and the Gnome integration. I think that's the Gnome Calendar, I believe. Let's just check that out again. I don't know if there's an about here. About calendar. So I think that's Gnome Calendar. So he's integrated quite a few different things into the KDE desktop. So you are going to have some of those little issues there until it doesn't make the operating system unstable. It's just not been implemented yet. That's the only thing that's just a couple of issues here and there. Otherwise, it's all working pretty good. And by default, you've got the Vivaldi Browser. The Vivaldi Browser, there's a setting down here. So if you see these little things pop up, just click on that. It pops back in. Same with all of these, with your downloads and so forth. And all of that. Then you've got your settings here. That'll take you to the settings. Themes, you can choose different themes. Appearance, you can change it to use the desktop, the current desktop theme, I think on the top there. I cannot remember where that is. Like KDE, this thing just has so many settings and options. It can just play with your mind about where the options are. It's just non-stop. It's just very hard to remember where anything was. So you've got in window appearance, which is probably this one here, use native window. I don't know what that's all about. That needs a restart. Let's just try that. And yes, that's the one that goes with the theme. Use native window under settings. So settings and appearance, and check use native window and restart Vivaldi, and you will have your Windows title bar set to the same as the system. You can choose to change the buttons from left to right within the Vivaldi settings as well. So you got your specific startup screen here that Feren's got. Things that you can check out, FerenOS news and so forth. I don't know if you can add or remove from this. I'm not really sure how that works. User guide settings. I'm not really sure whether you can add to this or not. FerenOS user guide. If there's a way that we can add or remove these things, it'll be nice to know if Feren can let us know how to do that. It'd be great. So that is FerenOS with the KDE desktop. I'm pretty sure I've covered most things. It is KDE, so there's a lot of options. Plus you've got the Feren built-in tools and options as well, so adds on top of that. So it's very hard to sort of cover everything, but I'm sure I've covered most things. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting and informative, and thanks for watching.